Okay, this is barely a section of books, but this one shelf to fill, and I'm like, I could fill that with a few authors. Yep. Taking out the Tim O'Brien. Well, really, I've only got 4 Tim O'Brien books here because I have doubles of 2. If I only were to keep one of these, I'd keep this smaller one with a stiff library cover. That's really nice. Heavy laminate on it. This is one I read when I read it most recently. This book's amazing. It's so good. Every chapter is an alternate scenario of what may have happened to this politician's missing wife. It's incredible. And yet you can pick up a through line of constants through all of them. It's amazing. It's a brilliant idea. It's like, as I said in another video that mentioned this one, I want to write a book like that about Everett Ruiz, the artist explorer who went missing in 1934 Utah. I've been on his trail at times. Here's his most famous one, probably because the title chapter gets assigned in schools a lot, but it's a very good book. I remember this just being around my family's house because my dad would get Vietnam stuff because he was a chaplain in Vietnam. I don't think he realized he brought an unconventional literary masterpiece into the house. Afterwards, he was like, oh yeah, that's a really good book. You should read it. I think this was his dad recommended. That's cool. And I think he got it from my sister Leanne. This is his memoir, something different. This would be interesting to read. Yeah. I've not read this one. But I've read these other 3 many times. I remember getting Going After Cacciato in 2001. Wait, no. Yeah, getting it from my old housemate, Rob Johansson, and then trading it for Wisława Szymborska's Sounds, Feelings, Thoughts. This cool young woman I met in Maine. I was like, oh, I'll have to buy Rob another copy. And I did. This was the edition I traded away, I remember. Call Going After Cacciato a novel about war is like calling Moby Dick a novel about whales. Yeah, I had never read anything like this when I first read this. Super subjective and ambiguous. It's amazing. Does this character walk home because he's sick of the Vietnam War? Does he imagine it all? I think it's pretty clear that he's imagining it all, but it's so cool. There's this stain on here. That's sad. Well, this is a much reduced collection from the Tim O'Brien I had before. I imagine I'll build that collection back up because if I saw a Tim O'Brien book I didn't have, I would get it. Even though he has some where I'm like, would that be good? Would I like it? Like I've never read Tomcat in Love or any of his non-Vietnam War connected books. This isn't wholly Vietnam connected, but a Vietnam flashback is involved. I think he's like a very important voice for processing the trauma that was that war in America. I mean, the traumatic effects on it, even though much of the trauma was the trauma of being horrible. Yeah, the early 2000s were all about these books in my little world. I remember reading them in Boston and walking across the country with a charity hike on the East Coast. Because Tim O'Brien doesn't just tell a story. He always has deep themes. He's literary. He's Melvillian. But he's also got like an experimental aspect, a really playful experimental aspect to his work. And he seemed like a really nice guy when he was a customer at the coffee shop I worked at in Cambridge, Massachusetts back in the day. I regularly made him lattes. He always had like a Boston Red Sox hat on. Baseball cap. My friend Rob talked to him at length once and said it was a good conversation. But I don't know. Did I ever say anything to him? I don't think so. Just like, here's your latte. But maybe the making of the hot caffeinated drink and the passing on of it was foretold, and it's some sort of ancient ritual. And sorry, I just can't make this important. I guess why maybe I remember that and think about that and have mentioned it is that, literature, the world of literature is our world. It's crazy. Many of these writers are still alive. Where art and reality really are mirrors reflecting each other. We're partners in a dance. Wow. I mean, The Things They Carried seems to be people's introduction to Tim O'Brien a lot. And that's cool. But this is a way more interesting I would say, complex book, Going After Cacciato. It's so cool. I love this book. When I read The Things They Carried, I remember my friend Jody in Boston was like, you should read Going After Cacciato. It's way better. She was right. I think I like this one more than any of them. This book really stayed with me. It's awesome. It's got a great idea behind it. As I always say, the best ideas could be genres, and just the form of this book just will make you want to play with it. Think about a scenario that you could tell in all these different ways. In our age of multiverses, I think that sort of thing appeals a lot. And I think our societal obsession with multiverse stories is as interesting and worth noting as our occasional obsessions with zombie and vampire movies. It definitely says something about the culture. In the case of multiverses, I think it says, oh no, we messed up. Is there another try? Is there a different version somewhere? Can we reboot? We messed up on the climate. We messed up on the economy. We messed up on everything. Let's do something different. Anyway, Tim O'Brien's great. I think he falls out of favor sometimes. I think sometimes he gets associated with young readers and college freshmen because of Things They Carried being assigned. And it is an author that grabs young people's fancy sometimes right away. Probably particularly young men, but I don't know if that's the case. Anyone could read Tim O'Brien and get a lot out of the fella. Oh, side note. So I counted the paperback case, the now full paperback cases books, 189. And I did the math with the calculator and found out it'd take me like 3.6 years at the rate of a book a week to read all of those. But I'm not going to give up. This bookcase and I. Yes. I could see that whole middle shelf, and symmetrically I would like this becoming groups of thematically linked books, like Greek plays, which I just took one out of because there was some redundancy there. The Chaucer, Western Cities, or Places, Thomas Wolfe, Fitzgerald's, I don't know. That's just what I got now. 189. Somehow that sounds to me like more than 200. I don't know what that's about. It sounds like a lot of books, you know. I added a nice Mrs. Dalloway in there. Anyway, Tim O'Brien. He's a real one. I don't know what he's doing these days. I guess I don't always keep up with people's careers. You know, it's like you can only buy so many new books, and when you have a collection, you're like, I already have so many to read. Plus there's the library. But, you know, I do check out new books from the library and talk about those sometimes. Going After Cacciato won the National Book Award. It deserved it. That's a great book. It is a major achievement. This could probably be a cool movie, but it would definitely be transformed in that adaptation. Because there are movies that express ambiguity and uncertainty. Rashomon, etc. That's a wild story. Guy decides to walk home from Vietnam. So many memorable scenes and parts and thoughts and approaches in this book. Things will stay with you. I guess I just have 2 copies because they're both nice. Maybe I'll give one to my friend Doug. Sometimes we read the same book at the same time. So he wants to read Lonesome Dove, and I don't think I have Lonesome Dove. I thought I did, but I can't find it. Wow, so many Tim O'Brien titles. It's just 4. Well, gotta be thorough here, going through the shelves. Tim O'Brien. Yeah. We should probably all have a little Tim O'Brien in our collections. He's a good writer, you know. A good writer makes you think about writing, makes you want to write. That's how I find anyway. And his work definitely does that. Gives me lots of ideas. Just thoughts. I mean, he also really accurately, I think, depicts a troubling war. I mean, you know, he evokes it. Not that I was, you know, in that war, but I did take a trip to Vietnam once to see where my dad had been. He was a Protestant chaplain in Vietnam, crazy. He was injured in the, what do they call it? The Tet offensive. It was like the counter Tet when rockets came back after that. Anyway, but I mean, in general, our whole country is like Vietnam is a wound. So many homeless people are connected to that war. At least that I've seen in my life. Now, the next thing I'll probably read on the shelf is that memoir. Now I'm curious about it. The paperback always lures me in. All right. Take care, everyone. Edward Abbey's next. And then Jack Handy. I know it's a weird shelf, but they're all great. All right. Later, friends. It's late, but